If you're one of the millions dealing with debt, trying to figure out how to, dig yourself out, you definitely know the struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you've looked for solutions online, you always run into this huge disagreement. Kind of a classic fight in personal
Oh, yeah, I
finance.
mean the big names, right?
Yeah, the clash of the titans, Dave Ramsey versus Sue Zorman.
It really is. It's like the logical spreadsheet fighting against, well, human psychology, right? He's all about discipline, right? So he pushes the debt snowball,
Hmm.
and Orman focuses more on the math, the security. So she favors the debt avalanche. Their advice is like totally opposite.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today, because this isn't just about um, crunching the numbers. We're looking at some really surprising academic research, too, stuff about the psychological cost of debt.
Yeah, that's key.
So we want to help you figure out which way the math or the motivation is actually better for you, for your specific situation, your brain, your wallet.
Precisely. Because, look, if it was only about the dollars and cents, the answer would be pretty straightforward.
Right.
But we know behavior, motivation, mental health, it all gets tangled up with money. So this deep dive is about giving you the context, So you can pick the method you'll actually stick with all the way.
Okay, good. So let's start with the purely logical side, the math first approach.
Yeah.
The debt avalanche.
Right. The debt avalanche, it's really the most, let's say, economically rational choice. The method itself is simple enough. You list out all your debts, credit cards, student loans, car payment, whatever you have.
Okay.
And you list them strictly by interest rate. Highest APR down to the lowest APR.
So wait, if I have like a credit card at, say, 25% interest, but maybe only a small balance, and a big car loan at just 4%, the credit card still goes first,
Yeah.
even if the car loan balance is huge.
Exactly. You totally ignore the balance amount for the ordering. The whole point is to stop the financial bleeding from the debt that's costing you the most in interest first.
Gotcha.
So you pay the absolute minimum required on every single account except that top one, the highest interest rate debt. Every extra cent you can find goes towards that one.
Okay, that makes sense. The rationale is just pure efficiency, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're trying to cut down the total interest you pay over the whole repayment time.
Yes. It absolutely saves you the most money in the long run. It's optimized.
And then what? Once that first one's gone?
Well, once you finally knock out that high rate debt, you take all the money you were paying on at the minimum plus the extra, and you sort of avalanche that whole amount onto the next debt on your list, the one with the next highest interest rate. So this method mathematically guarantees you get out of debt paying the least amount possible in total interest charges.
Sounds fantastic on paper, but I'm guessing it takes some serious willpower. Who is this really best for? What's the catch?
Yeah, there's definitely a personality fit here. This is really ideal for someone who's, already comfortable with spreadsheets, tracking numbers, budgeting meticulously, someone who is motivated by logic and optimization.
The analytical type.
Exactly. The catch is psychological. Let's say that top debt is a really big credit card balance with a high rate. You could be throwing extra money at it for months, maybe even a year or more.
And barely see the balance move. Or at least not feel like you're getting anywhere fast.
Precisely. You don't get that quick satisfaction of actually eliminating an account. You're making progress mathematically, but it might not feel like it day to day.
Yeah, I can see how that could be demoralizing for some people. You need to see results, right?
Right. So if you're someone who maybe loses steam easily, or you really need those tangible wins, those little victories to stay motivated, the avalanche can feel like a really long, hard slog.
Okay, so that perfectly sets up the other side. The strategy that kind of flips the script, prioritizing motivation over pure math. Let's talk about the psychological favorite, the debt snowball.
The debt snowball. Yeah, this is Dave Ramsey's big thing. And it completely ignores the interest rates when you're deciding the order. Yep. You still list out all your debts, but this time you order them from the smallest total balance up to the largest total balance, regardless of the interest rate.
And the thinking here is that whole idea that personal finance is mostly about behavior.
Right.
Right. Like 80% behavior, 20% head knowledge.
Exactly. It's about building momentum. You need those quick wins. So you attack the smallest debt first, the one you can pay off the fastest.
So same basic mechanics. Pay minimums on everything else.
Right. Minimums on all the bigger debts, and then you throw every spare dollar you have at that smallest balance debt until, boom, it's gone.
And that's the key moment, isn't it? The celebration.
That's the psychological boost. You get that financial high five, as Ramsey calls it. You've actually closed an account. It feels amazing.
I bet.
Then you take the money you were paying on that debt, its minimum payment, plus the extra you were throwing at it, and you snowball that entire amount onto the minimum payment of the next smallest debt on your list.
So your payment on the next debt gets bigger, meaning it gets paid off faster too. And then the snowball grows even more for the next one.
You got it. It builds momentum.
That does sound incredibly motivating. You get these regular victories, these milestones. It probably makes the whole huge task of getting out of debt feel less, well, overwhelming.
It's really designed for the person who feels maybe paralyzed by how much they owe, or someone who just knows they need that instant gratification, those regular pats on the back to stick with something hard. Those small wins, according to the Snowball fans, are what keep you in the game long enough to eventually tackle even the biggest debts.
Okay, but we already hinted at this. There's a cost, right? A financial trade-off for that feel-good momentum. What does the math actually say about the snowball?
Yeah, the drawback is purely mathematical. It's undeniable. Because you're ignoring interest rates, you could easily end up paying off some tiny little store card debt at, say, 3% interest.
While some massive credit card debt at 25% is just sitting there, racking up huge interest charges month after month.
Exactly. It will almost certainly cost you more money in total interest paid compared to the Avalanche. You're essentially paying a premium for that psychological boost.
Which is fascinating, because if the math is clearly worse, why do so many people swear by the snowball? It must mean that cost isn't just financial, right? It implies that the mental benefit is actually worth paying extra interest for some people.
And this is where the academic research we looked at comes in and really flips the conversation. It shows the cost of debt isn't just about APRs. There's this profound psychological drain involved. They call it the bandwidth tax.
A bandwidth tax. Okay,
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean? Like cognitive bandwidth?
Yeah, precisely. It comes from research showing that being in chronic debt puts a measurable burden on your brain. It literally impairs your cognitive function, your ability to focus, plan, make good decisions.
Wow.
And a key reason for this, the research suggests, is that debt isn't fungible.
Okay, hold on. Fungible. That sounds like finance jargon. Can you break that down for us? What does not fungible mean in this context?
Sure, fungible just means interchangeable. Like a dollar is fungible. Any dollar bill is basically the same as any other dollar bill. You can lump them all together.
Yeah.
But debt, psychologically, doesn't work that way for most people. We don't just see one big lump sum of, say, $34,000 in total debt. Instead, we create separate mental accounts.
Ah, okay. So you mean I see it as there's the mortgage over here, the student loan there, that medical bill, the credit card.
Yeah.
They're all separate things in my head.
Exactly. It's like having way too many browser tabs open on your computer. Each individual debt account acts like its own little mental burden, its own tab.
Mm-hmm.
And having more of these accounts open, just the sheer number of them, creates a heavier cognitive load. It doesn't even matter as much what the total dollar amount is. It's the number of accounts that drains your mental energy.
You're spending brain power just managing the existence of all these different debts, not just the money itself.
You got it. You're tracking them, worrying about them individually. It eats up that finite resource, your cognitive bandwidth.
Okay, this is where it gets really mind-blowing for me. The research actually tries to put a number on how much this drains us.
It's genuinely shocking. A major study, this one was in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS. It found that just clearing one single debt account,
Any account, regardless of the size.
yeah, regardless of the dollar amount, just closing out one account improved people's cognitive functioning by almost a quarter of a standard deviation.
Wait, say that again? A measurable jump in clear thinking just from getting rid of one debt account.
Yes, and to put that in perspective, that cognitive improvement is comparable to the effect seen after reversing the impact of one full night of sleep deprivation.
No, okay. So carrying that extra debt account, even a small one, is mentally taxing you almost as much as pulling an all-nighter.
That's what the data suggests. The mental relief, the sheer freedom of eliminating one whole tab from your mental browser is substantial, and that directly supports the core idea of the snowball method, getting those quick account closures.
Wow. So the snowball isn't just about feeling good. It's almost like a mental health strategy packaged as a financial plan.
That's a great way to put it.
It reduces the number of things you have to juggle mentally, freeing up that critical thinking space.
Absolutely. And the sources connect this to real-life improvements. When people are drowning in debt, the stress, the anxiety, it's constant, right? Well, Research showed that getting significant debt relief dramatically cut the likelihood of people showing symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder. It dropped from something like 78% showing symptoms down to 53% after relief.
That's huge. And it makes sense if your brain is constantly taxed by money worries and anxiety. You're probably not going to make the smartest long-term decisions, financial or otherwise.
That's the crucial link. Debt relief was also found to reduce something called present bias.
Present bias. Okay, what's that?
It's that common human tendency, often irrational, where we prefer a smaller reward right now over a much bigger reward later on.
Ah, like choosing the instant gratification.
Exactly. It's why you might buy that expensive coffee today instead of putting the money towards retirement decades from now, or why procrastinating feels good in the moment, even though it hurts later.
Got it.
The research suggests that clearing those mentally draining debt accounts actually helps people shift their focus. They become better able to make those long-term, more economically rational choices. When you feel less stressed, less mentally burdened, you can finally think about the future more clearly.
Okay, let's try and make this really concrete. Let's use the hard numbers from the example our sources gave, just to illustrate the actual dollar difference between the two methods.
Yeah, good idea. So they use a hypothetical scenario. $34,000 total debt. Pretty typical mix. There was a high-interest credit card at 18.99% APR.
Ouch.
Yeah. Then a mid-range student loan at 4.50% and a smaller car loan, pretty low interest, at 3.00%. And let's say you found an extra $3,000 a month to throw at this debt.
Okay, that's a very aggressive payment plan, which means you'd get debt-free relatively quickly with either method, right?
Exactly. In this specific example, both the Avalanche and the Snowball methods would get you completely debt-free in about 11 months. So the time difference is basically zero here.
Okay, so time's the same. What about the actual interest paid? How much does the Avalanche save you?
Right. If you use the Avalanche method, attacking that 18.99% credit card first, you end up paying a total of $1,011.60 in interest over those 11 months.
$1,011.60. Okay. Now, what about the Snowball, where you'd attack the smallest balance first, which was probably that low-interest car loan?
Yeah.
What's the total interest cost there?
With the Snowball method in this scenario, the total interest paid comes out to $1,514.97.
Okay, so carry the one.
Uh-huh.
It's about $500 more in interest with the Snowball. Roughly $503 if we're being precise.
Exactly, about $500 extra over 11 months.
So on the surface, you pay $500 more for the, the warm, fuzzy feelings of the Snowball. But then you bring back that psychological data we were just talking about. That study finding that the mental benefit of just eliminating one single account was perceived as being equivalent to getting like thousands of dollars in debt relief.
Yeah, the study estimated it felt like getting between $1,500 and $2,500 USD worth of relief just from closing one account.
Suddenly, paying an extra $500 in interest for the Snowball, it seems maybe less like a bad deal and more like, well, paying for mental clarity, paying a premium to reduce that bandwidth tax.
That is absolutely the core takeaway here. For a lot of people, especially if you feel totally overwhelmed by all the different bills, that emotional momentum, that reduction in the sheer number of accounts you're juggling, that might be worth far more than the few $100 saved by the pure math of the Avalanche.
So the old saying holds true. The best plan is the one you actually stick to.
Exactly. The one you're motivated enough to see through all the way to the end.
Okay, speaking of sticking to the plan, before anyone just jumps into either method, the sources highlighted some really crucial first steps, like 4 key tips to set yourself up for success and avoid, falling off the wagon.
Yeah, really important groundwork.
And tip 1 is kind of counterintuitive. Don't throw every single spare cent at your debt right away.
Right. It's a super common mistake. You get all fired up, motivated, want to make huge progress fast. But before you start making those extra debt payments, you absolutely need a small emergency fund. Just a starter one. Maybe $500 or $1,000.
Just a small cushion first. Why is that so critical?
Because life happens, right? You get a flat tire, the dishwasher breaks, an unexpected medical bill pops up. If you have zero savings because every penny went to debt.
You have to put that emergency expense right back on a high-interest credit card.
Exactly. And it completely wipes out your progress, kills your motivation. It's crushing. That little $500 or $1,000 buffer protects your momentum. It's your first line of defense.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Protect a plan. Tip 2 tackles that really nasty high-interest credit card debt head-on, the kind that makes the Avalanche seem so necessary. If your credit is decent, maybe look into a balance transfer.
Yes, definitely explore it. If you can move a balance from, say, that 18.99% card over to a new card offering 0% APR for a promotional period. And those offers are often for 12, 18, even 21 months sometimes.
Oh,
You've essentially supercharged the avalanche method. You get a long window to attack the principal balance directly without any interest piling up.
yeah.
It's a huge opportunity.
Sounds amazing, but there's usually a catch, right? Like a fee.
There almost always is. You absolutely have to factor in the balance transfer fee. It's typically around 3% to 5% of the amount you transfer. So do the math, make sure the fee doesn't wipe out the potential interest savings.
Right.
And crucially, you need the discipline to pay off as much as humanly possible, ideally all of it, before that 0% introductory period ends and the regular, usually high APR kicks in.
Good point. Okay, tip 3 is about what happens after you successfully pay off a credit card using either method. The emotional urge is strong, cut it up, close the account, be done with it. But the advice is, don't do that.
Please don't. Resist the urge to close the account. Keeping that card open, even with a zero balance, is actually really important for your credit score.
How does that work? Why keep it open if you're not using it?
It's all about your credit utilization ratio. That's a huge factor in your score.
Okay, credit utilization ratio, simple terms.
Sure. It's basically the amount of revolving debt you're currently using compared to the total amount of revolving credit available to you. So if you have credit cards with a total limit of $10,000 and you currently owe $1,000 across them, your utilization is 10%. That's considered very good. Now, let's say you pay off one card with a $2,000 limit and then you close that account. Your total available credit just dropped from $10,000 to $8,000. But if you still owe that same $1,000 on other cards, your utilization suddenly jumps from 10% to 12.5%. $1,000, $8,000.
So even though you paid off debt, closing the account makes your ratio look worse, which can actually lower your score.
Exactly. Keep the account open, keep the credit line available, just don't use the card or use it very lightly and pay it off each month. It helps your score.
Got it. Okay, and the final tip, number 4, really brings us full circle back to the main theme of this whole deep dive. You have to pick the plan that fits you, your personality, your temperament.
Yes. This is the most crucial decision, honestly. If you're the type who loves spreadsheets, tracks every penny, gets motivated by pure efficiency, the Avalanche is probably your best bet. It will save you the most money.
Right.
But if you know yourself and you know you need those regular wins, those financial high fives, to stay motivated, if you tend to feel overwhelmed by big numbers, then the Debt Snowball is likely worth paying that slightly higher interest cost for. Because the goal is completion. You need to choose the method that makes it least likely you'll just give up halfway through.
Right. So this whole conversation really shows that getting out of debt successfully, it's not just math. It's this really complex mix of financial strategy and, well, understanding how our own brains work.
It really is. You're solving for two things at once, the dollar amount and the mental load.
Absolutely. And that kind of leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for everyone listening to chew on.
Okay.
If this research is right, if chronic debt really does cost you not just money, but also precious mental energy, that bandwidth tax that's like losing sleep, just think about the incredible value of the mental freedom you gain as you pay it off.
Yeah, the upside isn't just financial.
Exactly. If just eliminating one single mental account can measurably improve your ability to think clearly, imagine the kinds of complex life decisions you could tackle with a clearer head once all those mental tabs are closed. Career changes, investment choices, planning for the future.
Things that require focus and long-term thinking.
Right. Maybe the most immediate return on investment from paying off debt isn't just saving interest, but reclaiming your own mental clarity. And that feels pretty priceless.